And welcome back to the Constitutionals podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Episode 274, Constitutionals podcast. Let me clear my throat. Here we are. Back at it again. I have some exciting news in regards to my gym activity. This is, every company, I guess, is doing their yearly end wrap-ups, even though it's December 15th. I guess it's the time to do it. But I got my year in sport from Strava, and I have to tell you, I kicked so much butt this year. Whoo, daddy. Let me look at, okay, you can't look at it online, so I have to go to I saved the most important parts. So I worked out for a total of 760 hours. That's 307 active days. I was active for 307 days, excuse me. I did the math. I think that's a total of like 41 days, something like that. My top sport was cycling. My total distance was 614 miles traveled. And whatever. And then I was in the top 1% of Strava this year. I'm just saying they have 100 million active users. 1% of 100 million is 1 million. Baby, I'm 1 in a million. That's all I want to say. That's all I want to brag about is how much I've worked out this year. And then that's on top of the 20,000 minutes rather I did for Peloton. I was gonna say Lululemon. But I mean, they're basically now the same company since Lululemon got rid of Mirror, which is such a stupid thing to do. When was it Lululemon bought Mirror? When Lululemon bought Mirror earlier last year or a couple years ago, I don't remember. And Mirror was if you don't remember, the connected fitness company with a giant mirror that had a screen on the inside, and you can do workouts while looking at the mirror, whatever. And yes, it was expensive and kind of niche, and they only just opened up the app, I believe, last year to people so they don't have to subscribe to Mirror. And maybe it seemed to be a loss leader for the company, for Mirror itself, or for Lululemon itself. They rebranded it to Lululemon Studio, I believe, late last year or early this year. And then they just up and said, hey, Mirror is no longer going to exist in 2024, and also we're partnering with Peloton because they're as much money as they've lost in the past couple of years, Peloton is the leading name in at-home fitness. I still have the Nike app, and they don't even update often, if at all. I also have the TRX app that came with I have the TRX cables, but the TRX also has an app that only has TRX things on it. And I don't know if it's free, but I know you have to pay for like live classes. So it's like $15 per live class. And those are the only apps that I use for working out. Strava, Peloton, Garmin Connect, and then another one to track I dare not say it because they now charge, and I got it when it was free. But I was grandfathered in to never having to pay. It's called Strong. Strava, Nike, TRX, Garmin Golf, my gym, Mind, Body, Fit, Theragun, Therabody, and Eufy Life for weighing myself. That's the least important thing. I just want to say, at least interesting thing. I just want to say, hey, baby, I'm strong. Let's get on with this story and this show. One story, no, it's news time. Which is coming back, I promise. I promise. This comes from Deadline, written by Dade Hayes. Showtime Linear Networks sets date of rebrand to Paramount Plus with Showtime. And speaking of rebrands from Lululemon and Mirror to Lululemon Studio to now nothing. This has to be one of the most, and this is a clean show, so forgive my phrasing here, but ass backwards ways of trying to get along with the streaming times. Now, if you don't know, CBS All Access, Viacom owns Showtime, Paramount, blah, 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 blah. The rest, the VH1, BET, MTV, Comedy Central, blah, blah, blah. CBS All Access was one of the original streaming apps that was kicking so much butt. And actually one of the original streaming apps, besides Netflix and Hulu. And then it was rebranded to Paramount Plus. And Showtime was shoved in there so that you can if you want to get Paramount Plus, you also get Showtime. And now we're at a point where it's called Paramount. The app is now Paramount Plus with Showtime. Showtime, as I've learned in the book Tinderbox that I'm reading currently, in the middle of, I'm on a pause. I'm about that book is like over 1,000 pages long. I would say I'm maybe 20% through. But there are points where Showtime is sometimes mentioned because it is around the HBO space. And, Showtime, I would definitely put it up there. I mean, it's not, in terms of importance, it's not up there with HBO, but it is one of the premier cable networks to maybe even go to toe-to-toe with them. And with HBO. And, Jesus. And now, I hate that noise. And now that legacy, much like Max's, Warner Brothers removing Max. I can say this because now my contract's no longer with them. I can say this. Warner Brothers removing Max from the name HBO Max just kind of tarnishes its legacy and grouping in all this other TLC and Food Network and stuff like that. Not to say Food Network is bad. I enjoy a lot of Food Network shows. But you're taking away from what was important, the HBO part of that. HBO is the bigger name. No one knows what Max is. I still call it HBO Max. I had an interview with a company for a job, and I called it HBO Max. Paramount Global is rebranding the Showtime network to Paramount Plus with Showtime. It makes no sense. Now, there is a Paramount network on basic cable, but even that is still just going to be Paramount Network. Yes, people know what the Paramount brand is, but even still, we're still comparing it. We're keeping it on the same level as the movies. Even when I see the Paramount Network and I'm scrolling by on television, I go, that's Paramount. It used to be Spike TV. But taking the name Showtime out of, putting Showtime behind the Paramount Plus is just such a blind way to ruin the company. Now, original series from Showtime are still going to be available on the network, and that includes shows like The Chi, Fellow Travelers, The Curse, Yellow Jackets, Your Honor. Your Honor's already done, though. And then they're going to have new shows as well, obviously. The rebrand's going to begin in January. And the second season of Halo is going to premiere with a selection of other Paramount Plus, the streaming app shows, Mayor of Kingstown, Star Trek Discovery, and Wolfpack on Paramount Plus with Showtime. Premium cable networks, they used to run the gamut, and now they're sitting third, I would say. The people, they're sitting third behind even broadcast. You go streaming networks, broadcast. I'd probably say they're sitting fourth. Streaming networks, YouTube, TikTok, whatever, if that even counts. Broadcast than that, because broadcast is easily accessible. I'm not a fan of the rebrand. I just don't. I don't. You're taking it away. You're taking it away. All right. This next one comes from Video Games Chronicle. Don't just have VGC on the website. First of all, the website is very confusing. Second, don't just have VGC sitting. I had to look up at the URL. Written by Tom Ivan, Microsoft is exploring offering free Xbox Game Pass streaming with ads. Microsoft is exploring offering free Xbox Game Pass streaming with ads. Jesus, okay. Did any of these people go to school? Xbox's chief financial officer, CFO, otherwise, Tim Stewart, suggested that It's no secret that Microsoft wants Game Pass on every screen possible. That's why we have workarounds on iOS. That's why we have an app you can download on your phone, your Android phones. That's why it's on Samsung TVs, Sony TVs. I believe it's on the latest LG TVs. It's definitely not on mine. That's why you can get up a Windows laptop and game stream to your heart's content. And if it's strong enough, then you can just download the Game Pass app. They don't have a Mac OS app. And again, you have to go to Safari and save it to your desktop, whatever, as a web app. Game Pass is lucrative, but it is also not lucrative in a sense where it's not making them a ton of money. They just changed Xbox Live Gold to Xbox Game Pass Core, which will give you you know what? I don't know what Game Pass Core does because I pay for Ultimate. I have no idea. I have no idea what Core does. Does Core give you like online play or whatever? Anyway, then there's Ultimate, which is you can download games, you can stream games, do whatever you want. So xCloud game streaming, this guy, Mr. Stewart, Tim Stewart, the CFO of Xbox, said at the Wells Fargo TMT Summit, quote, "The vision I like to talk about is we have xCloud game streaming, so you can subscribe to Game Pass Ultimate and you can stream hundreds of games to really any endpoint that has a browser experience." Okay, where's the ad thing? Where's the ad thing? Africa's 50%. Okay, wait. For models like Africa or India, Southeast Asia, many places that aren't console first, you can say, hey, do you want to watch 30 seconds of an ad and then get 2 hours of game streaming? So, I mean, it's more or less like YouTube. What YouTube does, you know, you get ads, or what free streaming does. Tubi, Crackle, if that still exists. That would be an interesting move for them. Windows Central also reported that there's a business model that could start as soon as next year. It makes sense for them. Everything is ad supported, and if people are really willing to put up with 30 seconds of ads, I have Peacock with ads. And they're not as obtrusive. They are very obtrusive, but they're not as obtrusive. And compared to, not having ads with HBO Max, see, did it again, or Netflix, because I'm not really sitting on Peacock watching things. Yeah, I get 130 seconds of ads before a movie, but there's no ads during the movie, which is good. I can watch Exorcist Non-Believer without any ads. This next one comes from Jennifer Moss over at Variety. Netflix releases first biannual report with massive trove of data, including for licensed titles. Now, this is a huge thing because Netflix never, ever, ever releases numbers. And these aren't the fake numbers that they put on their website, how we lived or how to watch things or whatever that website is called. We got real, actual numbers. Oh yeah. They have the top 10, the Netflix top 10. That was their first set of numbers, ever, and that was in 2021. But now they're actually kind of playing along with the Nielsen thing, the Nielsen rating system, which Charles Barkley was not a fan of when people were talking so poorly about he and Gail King's show. King Charles, I believe on the Steam Room podcast, Ernie asked him about it, Ernie Johnson, and he just went off. He's like, "Don't believe Nielsen, all that stuff is crap. It's a great show, blah blah blah. You should go listen to it. Go listen to that episode. It was very, very. I mean, he stood up. For one, he did the right thing. He stood up for the work that he put into that show, or that people put in that show, and yeah, just because something is quote unquote bad doesn't mean that other people aren't working on their jobs and everything. Tell that to the producers of a certain CNN morning show that I worked on. The new report's titled What we watched. I'm no longer working there. I can say that. The new report titled What We Watched, a Netflix engagement report, covers more than 18,000 titles and nearly 100 billion hours viewed between January and June 2023. So what it includes is the hours viewed for every title, both Netflix original and licensed shows. So you'll get things Cowboy Bebop is the first show I could think of, and what's a licensed show? Suits. That were watched for more than 50,000 hours during that period. The premiere date for any Netflix original TV series or film, and whether a title was available globally or not. I would say most shows are available globally. And as it turns out, it looks like here's some notes on this. First things first, they're going to start publishing What We Watched, a Netflix engagement report, twice a year, which is better than what they've done in the past. Okay. So the strength of returning favorites, this is from the Netflix's press release about this. Shows like Ginny and Georgia, Alice in Borderland, Marked Heart, Outer Banks, You, Queen Charlotte, XO Kitty, and film sequels Murder Mystery 2 and Extraction 2 were very popular. They're on the top 10 list this year. So those are returning ones. The new shows like The Night Agent, which I believe, if you look at the report itself, I don't like things that download directly to my computer. Put it in PDF format. And now I have to open up numbers. Oh, Jesus in heaven. My God. The Night Agent, which was released March of 2020. Oh, God. Or 2023. I don't know how to shrink things. Hold on. I got to do the quad setup again. How do I close this? How do I not have this open? All right, whatever. Okay, The Night Agent, which was the most watched property on Netflix from January to June 2023, had 812 and 100 million views. 812,100,000 views. Wednesday was number 4 with 507 million views. Oh, Beef did pretty well too. Interesting. Beef is down at I don't know. I can't count that much because the numbers are off here. But yeah, that's insane. Ooh, Luther Fallen Sun. I've yet to watch that because I've yet to finish Luther. I've been watching that for 5 years now. It's hard to keep up with things. There are other things like All Quiet on the Western Front, which continually did well beyond their premieres. That came out October 2022. Non-English titles have 30% of all viewings. Older licensed titles are apparently really good. Even though I often say this, and in fact I said it this week when I was looking through my queue on Netflix, that I think Netflix would be not a lot more successful, but they could save a lot of money and invest that back into us by not licensing titles. But we all know that people love it. The casual viewer, if Seinfeld's on Netflix, I'm going to subscribe to Netflix. If it's on Hulu, I'm going to subscribe to Hulu. That's where things go. That's why I subscribe to Disney Plus. If The Simpsons was just on Hulu and not on Disney Plus, I don't know if I would have Disney Plus. I have every streaming service, so... During a call with reporters on Tuesday, Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos and VP of Strategy and Analyst Lauren Smith fielded questions about the findings, noting that they plan to do this biannually. So at some point in the new year, we'll get a June to December 2023. Yeah. Will this will this be open up the door for? I mean, Netflix is obviously the most popular streaming service, television or otherwise. Will this open up the door for other streaming networks who have also who have taken Netflix's lead and said we're not going to release numbers too? So as that like Hulu, Disney Plus, Max, Prime, Paramount Plus, are we going to get numbers from them? Because I'm sure the people who make these things would love to see how well or how poorly they're doing, as opposed to have some exec go, "You're doing great, you're in the top 10," but what does that mean? Any book can be in the New York Times bestsellers list. It's true. I'm looking through the list right now. Blacklist season 1, Breaking Bad season 3, Lucifer season 3. That's before Lucifer moved over to Netflix. It's not often that, I'll say this, it's very controversial too. I think Lucifer moving from Fox Broadcasting over to Netflix, it still stayed good and it never lost a stride, even though season 6, I was definitely tired of watching it. I enjoyed that show though. And I believe TNT has the broadcast rights to it. What's it called? Syndication rights to it. And man, if it's 4 p.m. and I just need to put something on in the background, I'm watching Lucifer or whatever time it comes on. If I see it on the channel guide, I'll turn it on. I mean, the list has the usual suspects. Even the Queen's Gambit is still posting decent numbers. I mean, well below Puss in Boots and the Thunderman season 2. What was Friends on Netflix at some point in the past year? Okay, I'll stop looking at this. All right, this next one comes from Wall Street Journal, written by. Am I not signed in? Okay, I can still see the article, so it's fine. Alexandra Bruel. New York Times hires first newsroom leader focused on artificial intelligence. This Zach Seward, who was the Quartz co-founder, he's going to be trying to find principles for how the Times will and won't use generative AI. I can tell you something. I do not like this guy's headshot. The hire comes as news organizations cautiously explore generative AI tools that assist in creating news content. Now, if you remember, Sports Illustrated and CNET both got in trouble this year for how they were using AI. One of which, CNET's, resulted in the layoffs of a good percentage of the people that work there. If you look at their YouTube channel, you can see that too. If you look at Engadget's YouTube channel, do people even work there anymore? The Verge as well. Now, AI is going to be an important tool for the next rest of our lives, and it's important to not just shun it out completely. As much as I'm not a fan of generating photos that could take from people who are actually making photos or painting or whatever, and as much as I'm not a fan of a company, which is already happening. Companies just writing stories with AI, just plugging in 6 details, and then now entire things are being written with AI. It is a tool that is going to have to be used in the future, but much like every tool, you have to be judicious with it. You're not going to use a hammer. You can use a hammer to build a house, but you're not going to use a hammer on everything. You're not going to use a hammer to put in tile, to put down carpeting. It can help with those things. I don't know how, but it's definitely not something you can rely on the entire time. So with these AI generating tools and with hiring people who are going to be in charge of how we're able to implement this technology into the newsroom, it can just do things like generating headlines that are different compared to what the competition is doing. And is it going to affect jobs? Is it going to affect work? And is it going to affect jobs? the quality of the work and the jobs that the people have. You can't just say, okay, now this AI tool is going to replace 5 people, because that's not how it works. Because those 5 people could be the best people in the newsroom. The Times has already begun allowing news staff to apply for the opportunity to experiment with AI tools, according to a spokesman. At one meeting in August, around 50 senior newsroom employees discussed ways the paper could use the technology to make existing work more efficient, including generating headline ideas or parsing data. I think that would be great, parsing data, because especially if you read the New York Times and at points the Wall Street Journal, there are many stories that they do that involve, like, there'll be like a New York Times Magazine story that's like a 50-minute read, and it's looking into, I was about to say a headline, and I don't want to get in trouble for saying the headline, so maybe it's like, how many bullets have been used in the Ukrainian war so far, and they'll have, it'll be digital and it'll have all this different stuff. I didn't do that right. I didn't really describe any of that right. Here's an example of another company using AI. Gannett, Columbus Dispatch, for example, ran an AI-generated article about a high school soccer game that left blanks where the winning team's mascot belonged. It said, quote, the Worthington Christian winning team mascot defeated the Westville North losing team mascot 2-1. Like, see, that's what happens when there's not anyone there to fact check and to really guide what AI is supposed to be doing. And AI is supposed to be like helping us. You just can't rely on it. You also can't just hire a Taylor Swift or Beyonce reporter and think that's going to be a real job. This next one comes from Variety, written by Tyler Aquilina. SiriusXM's big pivot can't hope to challenge Spotify. Now, I saw this headline and I thought, I immediately was opposed to it. But there is a lot of merit to it. Spotify is an entirely different beast. Let's look at, they're both streaming services, but let's look at Netflix. Netflix is already the market leader when it comes to streaming television, streaming movies, whatever, streaming stuff to watch. And I guess besides YouTube, but Netflix. And when a streaming app releases, or a company with streaming properties releases, like this next story I'm going to talk about with Dropout, it's not possible or smart or correct for a company to go, we're gunning after the top spot. You can't just say, you can't move the Raiders to Las Vegas and go, we're going to win a Super Bowl. It's got to take time to build that team back up again. You can't lose Tom Brady and go, all right, now the Patriots are still going to be on top, because that's not how it happens. So by immediately putting Spotify in this position where it has to go up against, immediately putting SiriusXM in this position where it has to go up against Spotify, I think you're partially missing the point. One of those is this, and as I'm a subscriber, and I can say this because I like it a lot, is an old, crotchety, withered, and almost dated beast. It started in a car, it still lives in a car, but now they have apps. They've already had apps, but now they're redesigning the app to get you to be a complement to your already streaming app. They don't care. No one at Spotify, no one at SiriusXM, I truly believe, no one at SiriusXM gives a hoot that you have Spotify. In fact, they know you have Spotify. They know you have Apple Music. They know you have Tidal. They know you have YouTube Music, Deezer, Quibbits, is that what it's called? What have you? Qbuzz, excuse me. But this is supposed to be a compliment. You don't, like, people, you can, but people don't just have Netflix. They also have Max, or Hulu, or Disney Plus, or Paramount Plus, and Peacock. They have other ways of getting their entertainment, this is just another way. You're not going to go to the gym and just run. You're going to walk. You're going to lift weights. You're going to do core. You're going to stretch. You're going to do everything possible. Not everything possible, but you're going to do different things because otherwise your legs will just be hurting. So that's where I disagree with Tyler on this challenge to Spotify, because it's not like we know it's not like no one's going to rely only on SiriusXM. There's a point where my mom was only listening to Pandora, and I was like, you got to get Apple Music or Spotify. And Pandora is now owned by SiriusXM, or I don't know, vice versa. I don't know. So they rebranded themselves. They're calling it the next generation of SiriusXM. They dropped their plans by $1 per month, so now it's $9.99. At some point, they'll probably raise it back up. The new app also more closely integrates SiriusXM's audio holdings, which includes music streamer Pandora and the podcasting platform Stitcher, and an interface that what Tyler writes looks like a lot like Spotify. I'll give them that because I'm not. I would say Spotify's a little bit more busy, which is the reason why I stopped using it. I do go to Spotify whenever there's a new album out and I see it on YouTube Music, or if I don't see it on YouTube Music first, then I'll go to Spotify and I'll save it in there because sometimes they have 3 months for $10 and I want to switch for a little bit. And it also makes it easier to put my playlists on Apple Music by using another app. So it's like 4 different apps to listen to music. I like music. SiriusXM has around 150 million listeners. They stalled at about 34 million paid subscribers in 2020, which I'm sure went down because of the pandemic. Spotify has 574 million users and 226 million paid subscribers worldwide. Pandora had just 6.1 million paid subscribers in Q3, and they lost 150,000 year over year, essentially. That's interesting. There's a pivot that they're saying is coming, that Tyler's saying coming much too late. And I agree with that. There was a point in college where I didn't know Howard Stern was only on, the dog is awake, only on SiriusXM. And he woke up the cat. And then I tried to get TuneIn, and I didn't know what TuneIn was. And that was like sort of the same thing. And I just remember thinking, man, oh man, I'm going, like, when I have money, I'm going to get SiriusXM. And then I finally got SiriusXM. Look at him stretch back there. Maverick, get off the couch. And then I was like, I'm going to get SiriusXM. And then years later, I got SiriusXM. And because it came with my second car, I wrecked one car, and then it came with this other car for a little bit. And then I just never canceled the thing. But it is still an antiquated mess. I was playing with the app this morning on the iPad. The Android app is not updated for some reason. And I can't find Howard Stern videos. They put a lot like Spotify. They put everything into one area. So when you go to your For You thing, you'll see, I'll see like the NFL, podcast or whatever with the Phoebe Bridgers show and then like the 10 spot. I'll see like everything mixed together. And then it's only when I hit podcasts or when I hit channels, that's when everything kind of just falls in line. Now, I do enjoy SiriusXM. That's why I continue to subscribe to it. But it's still leagues behind streaming platforms. In fact, it even lags behind CD players, according to audio sources in the car between 2021 and 2023. It still lags behind CD player, which obviously everything is losing to AM FM radio. Again, I don't think it's completely competing with, hey, get off the table. Maverick, come here. Jesus. She gets on the coffee table, and then he thinks it's okay to get on the coffee table. My God. Why is everybody on the coffee table? Again, I don't think it's competing with it completely in a sense, but I also, it definitely has it in its purview. All right. And the final story, this comes from The Mary Sue, written by Michael Dawson, as well as Variety, written by Jennifer Moss. Dropout streaming service announces end of year revenue sharing for its creatives. Dropout, which is the new form of CollegeHumor, which is their streaming service, I guess. If you remember CollegeHumor, it was a website when I was but a boy. It was a website, and you go to it, and they'd be like ranking hot women, and I'd be like, I hope nobody sees that I went to this website. It's very true. Who has the biggest boobs? And like some other humor type things. But eventually, several years ago, I would say, in 2018 is what this article says. What the Mary Sue says, they created CH Media. They kind of gotten rid of the CollegeHumor part. They got rid of the CollegeHumor part, and Dropout became its own thing. They have shows like Actually, which sounds annoying, Dimension 20, which sounds annoying, Gods of Food, which sounds annoying, and Cartoon Hell, which sounds annoying. What it turns out is they're profitable enough, and one of the Kevin Stiller, who works on Dropout, posted a screenshot on Instagram of an email from Sam Reich, who used to be like one of the workers of CollegeHumor, then became a boss of CollegeHumor, then he owns CollegeHumor, and now he owns Dropout, or runs Dropout, excuse me. He sent an email to everybody who works at Dropout, says that 2023 was a successful year for Dropout, and that they continue to grow, and now they're going to do revenue sharing, which is a fantastic thing. I mean, we've had the strikes, and a lot of these people are probably, on these shows, they're probably SAG-AFTRA shows. They're probably WGA shows, and I've never seen a second of these. I think most of them are game shows. But that's exciting. That's exciting that a streaming service is doing well enough that they can share this revenue with these people. Now, Jennifer Moss sat down with Sam Reich. God, I hope I'm saying it right. I hope I'm saying it right. He sat down with Dropout CEO to talk about doubling the subs of Dropout, as well as content output, and the price increase plans and the first profit sharing. They have mid six figures, so that's probably like 600,000 subscribers, and a double development output with a new lineup of 7 new shows to debut in 2024. And again, don't compare to Netflix, don't compare to Disney, don't compare to Warner. You don't need any of that stuff. This is a small streamer that is doing niche things. Dropout. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Something just happened on the computer. I'm skipping through some things. So Sam says they've been on the emphasis has been on Dropout for years now. The conversation around CollegeHumor was like, what happened there? Because people didn't know Dropout was thriving. And then they had to get into the name type thing. 2020 was one of the big changes for them because they purchased They purchased Dropout and CollegeHumor from the company that was already owned. That owned it. They went from 105 employees to 7 employees in that time. Of course, they had to lock down. I think Dropout was on VRV.com, along with a lot of other things, including, what was that cartoon made by Pendleton Ward or some Brave New Kids? Bravest Warriors. That's what it was called. Oh, man. Whoosh. I remember that. The only time I saw Bravest Warriors was initially when it aired on YouTube and it was free. And then when I went to Vancouver and it was on television there. It was just airing on television there. On Dropout's churn, Sam says, controlling every part of the process, being the folks who are creating the content, as well as running the platform and distributing and marketing it, gives them the ability to optimize that a lot of traditional streamers don't have. Which means that they can make a show. Are they like, what's the Critical Role? That's the one that came from, the other one. Geek and Sundry, I believe. I'm just naming things. But are they a lot? I'm thinking that they're a lot like Critical Role, and they play games or Dungeons and Dragons or whatever. But I think, since they're such a small niche company, is that they can bring in the audience, and the audience can really have a say in what makes these shows work and what doesn't. They're gonna. I mean, I'm not really getting anything from this interview. Things are gonna. I mean, Dropout is. It's an incredible feat that it has done. The point is profit sharing, and that it's still able to survive in a world where people are scaling back on their streaming platforms, and streaming platforms themselves are scaling back. But now to go from 7 shows to add 7 more shows, and to employ a bunch of people and get them working in a time where strikes did take away from the better part of the year, and to give back to them, I mean, that's astonishing in the long run. It's important to have that and to see that and to have it happen. Just got to keep that in mind. All right, listen, if you like what you heard here, you want you head on the website, cpluscomedy.com, where I was going to jump ahead, where you can see me talk to your favorite comedians. We just posted Gianmarco Cerezi, that interview. That was a wonderful conversation we had. The next one I will post after that, or after this episode, is Adam Caton Holland. And then we have a special final one next week, and then that'll be it for the year. Excuse me. I'm hungry. My tum-tum. It's what happens when you become the top 1% of Strava. You have to eat a lot. Oh, where's the gym? Oh, it's that way. Well, technically, my bike is right there, and the treadmill is in the storage room, which is on the other side of this wall. Well, that's the bathroom. On the other side of this wall. Oh, my God. I'm a douchebag. If you want to watch a video version of the show, head to youtube.com/cpluscomedy, where you can also see video versions of those interviews under the interviews, and watch video versions of our other podcasts, which also come in audio form. I see the numbers. Not very good. LinkedIn Logs, which is the job podcast, as well as Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show, which is a show I will be recording after this, but not before I put out this episode, so that because the Adam Caton Holland interview may or may not be edited and already uploaded and releasing at 3 p.m. So I have to put this out soon. Video versions, youtube.com/cpluscomedy. You can watch us, do whatever you want to do. Social media, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, @cpluscomedy. Me, @ChadBlackWhite. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Tell your friends, and let's get the heck out of here.